Bhanu Prabhu, mute yourself. Prabhu, it's a lot of static coming.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, let's start Narayan Prabhu. I'm good. So let's go.
Oh, okay. Can you hear
Right.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, what were we talking about? No, I'm just kidding. So the jiva leaves the body because it's time to leave the body for whatever reason. He could be murdered, and that's a good reason to leave the body.
Right.
He could die of old age. He could die of intoxication. He could die
So many,
violently. He could be murdered. He could die in an automobile accident.
so
There's a
many
lot
ways
of
to
ways
die.
of
Right.
well,
Right.
there's a lot of ways to die, and not all of them are friendly to taking your next birth. I mean, a lot of times people are so shocked at the time of death, leaving the body that they just left is out of the question. And if you have stopped to think of it, the reason why there's so many ghost stories about graveyards, you know, Christian graveyards, so many ghost stories,
No,
because
no.
all of those people that are haunting the body that died, the ghost is there hovering over their grave, not knowing why it cannot once again be in its body. I've seen it many times. Whole Pittsburgh, whole graveyards full of ghosts. And they get distorted. Do you know why the ghosts tend to look sort of weird? Hello?
Yeah, Prabhu.
Do you know why ghosts tend to look weird?
Don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Like if you go to a graveyard, you see a ghost, usually they're pretty creepy looking.
Yeah, why do they look weird?
Because they're out of their body. The body shaped the mind. The ghost is the mind.
Huh? The ghost is the mind?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was, I keep saying you have to be careful when you're on the transcendental path to beat your mind 50 times with a shoe and in the morning and 50 times with a stick at night.
yes. Yes.
Why? So that the mind will not continue to disobediently, heretically take on the form of the body, which it has no reason not to do unless you beat it.
Only the
If
mind,
you beat it,
not
it's
the
like a
mind
kid,
intelligence.
disobedient
Mind,
person, bad servant. You beat him. No, no more like that.
only the
Yeah.
mind, not mind intelligence and ego.
I'm sorry.
Bhanu Prabhu is asking only the mind, not the mind intelligence and false ego, how they're connected.
It could be, but the mind, intelligence, false ego is shaped. If you look at it in the other direction, when the baby is born, the mind is in the body of the baby. And as the
Yes,
baby grows, the
right.
mind changes its sense of shape. No? A baby is
Yes,
different than 5 years old, different than 10 years old, different than 30 years old, different than, Prabhupada described and we made the sculptures called changing bodies. You see how
yes,
old from babyhood all the way through the whole process to becoming completely dead body, skeleton, and from there another baby comes.
right.
That's a crude example because there's a lot of other ways to die than just going completely through old age. You
Uh-huh.
can be murdered. You can have an accident. You can get drunk and die of a heart attack. There's a lot of ways of dying besides old age. So we're back to the ghosts in the graveyard. Think they look like the people whose bodies are in the grave.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're hovering over the grave where they were buried or they go wandering around and then come back to it later on when it gets to be too light of day to be ghosts. And why don't they look like the bodies? Why do they
Because
change shape and appearance?
because you said they're in the form of the mind,
And they're no longer in the body. The
right?
body gave them the shape. When you have a beautiful woman, she's beautiful, and if she dies, that's a beautiful ghost. But if she haunts her dead body that's buried, not cremated, that's why you cremate, to get rid of the body, so you don't identify with it, you don't stay with it. So the beautiful woman who dies, after some of them remain beautiful. There's so many stories of ghosts walking in an old house of someone that died, and you can see them and they're walking through in a beautiful Victorian bonnet and full Victorian dress, walking from room to room. Sometimes they keep the same shape because their
Cremation
mind
in the
remains
sense,
in
Prabhu, cremation in the sense,
mind
burn it
remains
up.
in,
Yes,
what is it?
cremation means burn it up. Yes, yes,
So, but in the graveyard, because the mind is not in the body, the mind begins to stretch in different weird ways. That's why people think of ghosts as looking weird.
mm,
It's no longer in the body. And besides, if you go into the body, it's probably decayed anyhow or shriveled up and looks weird. So who would want to identify with it? So the mind is trying to remember what he was like when he was alive. And that's the
right.
ghost.
Acha.
So now, ghosts can wait there for a very long period of time. If you want to know how long ghosts can wait, just look at Shiva riding on Nandi the bull, followed by ghosts. Endless supply of ghosts. And those are ghosts that are smart enough to follow Shiva.
Those are
What to
heavy
speak of
duty
ignorant
ghosts.
Christian ghosts or atheist ghosts in a graveyard?
I said those are heavy duty ghosts.
No, those are devotee ghosts.
Well, devotee ghosts, yeah, those are Shiva devotee ghosts, but they're not Vaishnava ghosts or they wouldn't be ghosts.
Right, right.
So what happens is that it's very difficult for ghosts. My only point was there are more ghosts than there are people because it takes a long time for a ghost to take another birth, but people take birth bang, 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 one after another, usually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more than 95% of the people that die don't become ghosts. But there's
Right.
that 5% or 2%, 1%, half of 1% that do become ghosts, and they remain ghosts for hundreds or even thousands of years. So they accumulate and they form their own societies
Ah,
amongst
right.
each other.
Form their own societies. Huh, that's interesting. I never
Yeah.
thought of that. They form their own
Yeah, in the
societies.
graveyard, they all know each other. They don't necessarily like each other. In fact, a lot of times they hate each other, but they're very used to each other because every night there they are. I've seen them. In Pittsburgh, when I walked past the graveyard and my wife had left, I was in a very distressed state of mind. I was being pulled. I could feel myself being pulled towards the graveyard I was walking past. I
Wow,
looked over and
interesting.
I saw all these grinning, horrible looking faces looking over the wall and looking from inside the buildings there, where the funeral buildings, they're looking, or the cremation, whatever, you know, graveyard buildings, they're looking out of the window. They're sitting on the roof. They're looking and they exert psychic pull. Why?
Hmm.
When a ghost sees a person in a body, Prabhupada says, what does the ghost want?
Mhm.
Body.
No, he wants the person to leave the body and become a ghost. He's not wishing good fortune on himself, but misfortune onto the living people.
Mhm.
So how do you get to enjoy having a body? You have sex and you can drink alcohol and water. You can perspire, for God's sake. You can pee, you can poop. And we can't. All we can do is sit in these astral bodies and we can't do damn thing. We can't experience anything normal that we used to experience when we had bodies. So why the hell should you have a body? And Prabhupada said that sometimes ghosts set themselves up in a house to startle you when you're walking down the stairs so that you'll fall down and break your neck.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you're driving a car, distract you so you can get killed.
Actually, I was trying to find some ghosts yesterday. I went by a graveyard at nighttime and I turned on my car and I was looking for them, but I couldn't find any. Too bad.
Well, it helps if you're in a highly distressed state of mind yourself.
Oh, I'm not
And
so
I don't
distressed.
think you really want to go there. Better just believe what I'm telling you. Maybe you're not sensitive to ghosts. You know, I'm very psychically sensitive to all sorts of things.
Acha, acha.
So there are many. So there are many.
I don't normally see ghosts. I mean, I saw ghosts in 1970 or 71 in Pittsburgh. I haven't really seen any ghosts since. It was Pittsburgh. They were already old-time ghosts, couple hundred years old.
Wow, interesting. Crazy.
So there are
Well,
more
they
ghosts in
died
the
when
West.
they were in the graveyards, and they didn't take their next body.
So there are more ghosts in the West because they don't cremate there.
Well, they don't take another birth. So the tendency is for there to be an accumulation of ghosts everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, Bhanu Prabhu is saying, I think you got it, Narayan Prabhu, is that in the West there's more ghosts because they don't cremate the body. That's what you said.
Well, they do now.
Oh, yes, they do now. Yes.
A lot of the time. Yeah, cremating the body is a good, well, it doesn't mean you don't become a ghost. It means
Right.
you don't become a ghost haunting a body.
Right. Right.
Because there's no body to haunt. And if you throw the ashes in the ocean at very least, or in the Ganges or Jamuna River, it purifies. Why do people throw their ashes of their grandmother into the Ganges or the Jamuna? People think, oh, I want to honor my grandmother. But that's nice. You're honoring your mother. You take a trip to India and you drop the ashes in the Ganges. Or I took my father's ashes, or I thought they were his ashes, and dropped them in the Ganges in Calcutta, at Mayapur. And one of my ex-relationships, that was the mother of two of my sons, her sons came with me, and we put the ashes in the Jamuna. Shakuntala came and took my mother's ashes and put them in the Jamuna. And we're all thinking we're honoring my mother. But do you know what you're actually doing?
What are we doing?
Preventing her from not taking the next birth. It's sort of like, oh, a devotee assumes, oh, someone is dead, they're going to go back to home, back to Godhead.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. My prediction, my benediction to all of you, is that after 100 more births, we can then go back to Godhead. Why? Because I think it would take about 100 births to complete 10,000 years. But in that time, we're going to have so much fun chanting Hare Krishna, raising the dying from the dead, you know, chanting, helping the Malachas become rolling on the ground in ecstatic love of God. That'll be so pleasurable that we'll hardly want to go back to Godhead.
Krishna. Right.
So this idea of, I want to be saved, I want to go back to Godhead now, I hope I die and go back to Godhead, I hope when I die in this lifetime I'll go back to Godhead. Too greedy for Krishna to enjoy. Why would Krishna enjoy someone that wants to go back to Godhead?
Right.
We know, first the Kanista, then the Madhyam. But in the Madhyam, you develop your rasa through pure unalloyed love of God. So why will Krishna welcome you if you have not developed pure unalloyed love of God? This is not Christianity. This is not salvation. Right behind your head is Prabhupada coming up to the steps to Radhakund.
Oh yeah.
Not Radhakund, to Radhadesh, to Lord Radharani's appearance place temple.
Jai.
Being,
Wonderful picture.
Prabhupada is being carried up the stairs by a Malacha who deserves to never go back to Godhead, I assure you.
What year was this?
Very lowly character. 1971.
Wow. Early, somewhat early in
The
the
first
movie.
parikram of Vrindavan.
Wow, this was 1971. Interesting.
Yeah. Or 72 maybe.
Okay. Jai.
When the year of the first Mayapur festival, which I arranged, I put it all together with the Chudananda.
Okay, let's go back to ghosts.
Okay, there you're seeing one right there behind you. But anyhow, I'm carrying Bhagavad up the stairs. I didn't realize it, but I was carrying him wrong.
Oh, interesting.
Because I didn't carry him down the stairs. When he went down the stairs, the bearers walked sideways. So Prabhupada never tilted. But in this case, he's tilted way backwards because the stairs are steep. But out of pure ignorance, I carried him up. I don't think Prabhupada wanted to be carried down that way because he could have pitched forward from his seat. But I didn't know. But look at me, I'm so completely determined and filled with power that I'm carrying my spiritual master up to the birthplace of Srimati Radharani.
Jai, wonderful picture.
Yeah. Where did you get it?
I don't know where I got it, but from Facebook, I think.
Did you know it was me?
Of course I know it was you. It looks like you. Someone told me it's
Lucky. Okay. Somebody may have told me. Yeah. It doesn't look as demoniac as I actually am. But the thing is that what we're talking about with the ghosts is that the ghosts hover and try to take birth. Now, when they cannot take birth, they then try to find some way to enjoy a body. And how do they do that? They sneak into somebody's body when they're intoxicated, drug addicted, insane. A lot of reasons a ghost could get into your body. Distressed, somebody gets beat, has the crap beat out of them, or he's very drunk. The ghosts can get into their body. And when they get in, at first they try to be friendly, and the person who has the ghost in them finds them charming to be with and to have them on board. It's nice. But then after a while, the ghost begins to complain. He said, why are we always doing all the things you want to do? And the answer to the ghost is, because it's my body. Why shouldn't I do the things I want to do? So it's your body. Well, I'm in your body. Isn't it my body too? And I said, well, not really. You're a passenger in the body, not the owner of the body. So, but I'm in the body, and you damn well better do what I want. Said, I don't want to do what you want. And so then the conflict develops with the ghost in the body and the person in the body, whose body it is. The person has a body, and now they have a ghost pirating the body, and the ghost is getting more and more truculent, more and more annoyed, more and more, shall we say, pissed off, that he wants to do what he wants to do with the body. Why? Why did he go into the body? So that he can enjoy being in a body again. And this isn't working out for the ghost because he's not getting to do all the things the ghost wanted to do.
So I have one question now.
Yes.
According to what I've read from Srila Prabhupada's books, the jiva, it enters the womb of the mother through the semen of the father. So
yes,
in that way, the father eats the grains, right? And the grains contain the jiva, or how does it work?
Sometimes.
Or
There's a lot of different ways.
Can you explain?
Not just grains.
Not just grains. Okay.
No, because consider plants. Consider animals, they don't eat grains.
Huh.
Sure,
No, but
for the pious people, they may come into the grains, but somehow or other, put it this way, somehow or other, the jiva enters the semen. I'll get to that, but let's
okay.
finish up these horrible ghost stories.
Okay. Right. Right.
So the ghost can either kill you and actually take over your body and live in your body after you're dead as a ghostly presence.
Huh? So
The
they can
go-
kill the ghost can kill me right now and take over the body? Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
why not?
Huh. How how can he make the jiva that's already situated in that body leave the body by killing them? Or you mean
Yeah, well,
you mean
arranging for him to die.
oh, interesting. Yes, yes.
Sometimes he'll get in some sort of accident and the jiva will die and the ghost will live.
I
And the
see.
jiva
Oh, okay.
leaves the body.
Okay, okay. So they just kind of
Or he may get so intoxicated that the jiva goes out of the body, like astrally, and then the ghost keeps him out, won't let him back in.
that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very
This
complicated.
yeah.
But now, that's all the extraordinary things about ghosts and whatnot. Now, can I get back to the jiva leaving the body normally,
Yes, go ahead, Prabhu. Yes, I'd like to hear
which
this
is
part.
what you were aiming towards?
Right.
And that is when the jiva leaves normally, he goes up into like a vortex
Right.
in the astral plane. And depending on his consciousness at death, it'll be either the lower astral plane full of pink elephants and whatnot, and from intoxication and insanity, or it'll be medium, so he goes into a human expression, or higher or lower human that he was, or into a higher expression in a higher astral plane. At the very top of the astral plane, there's angels. So if you've ever experienced waking up in the middle of night, seeing that you've been pulled into the astral plane by jivas, you look up, you'll see angels' faces pulling you in. Not trying to get you to die, but just offering benedictions to you to live better.
So
That happens
what
to
are
some
angels?
people. Huh?
Angels was demigods, right? Demigods.
Yeah, angels. Angels means with wings, you know.
Huh. But
They demigods, yes, they live on certain planets, apsaras, you know.
absolutely.
Gandharvas, apsaras like that, not Shiva, not Indra. They are big payday guys with big fists. Not Lakshmi, she belongs to Narayan. No, these are angels, like the Christians describe angels. They don't realize the angels are still in the material universe. They're on Swarga Loka, which is an angelic heavenly planet, where the Christians go if they're vegetarian and live strict lives and love Jesus and are vegetarian. They can go experience salvation and go to heaven, meaning a heavenly planet, not Krishna Loka, not the Vaikuntha Loka, but to a heavenly planet in this universe, Swarga Loka, which is in the suburbs of Brahmaloka. It's a planet somewhere around Brahmaloka, near up there. And the Christians can go there. And they're happy there because it's heavenly. But there are very few Christians that make it there because most Christians eat meat. They can't go. They can't go there because Jesus took on their sins. They go there if they take on Jesus' sins. In other words, they go there if they can become like Jesus, not exploit Jesus like a pimp exploiting a prostitute.
Right, right.
Which is what the Christians do. They try to make Jesus their whore, and they will all be pimps. They sin, and the prostitute gets the herpes and gets the syphilis and the stuff like that. Or I like to say that Christians like to make Jesus, they think of Jesus as a toilet where you flush poop down. You get rid of your crap by flushing the toilet. Or like a garbage disposal, you throw all the scraps of your enjoyment, meaning the bones and the flesh of the meal you ate, go down the garbage disposal and he gobbles it up for you. And you're free from any karma for having killed the animal. So they think. But they'll find out the hard way what really happens. You know, it's just because they believe in a huge illusion doesn't make it true. Even if several billion people believe in a huge illusion, that just makes several billion total idiots believing in something that can't possibly be true. Do you see what I mean? Yes? Hello?
Indeed. Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay.
Several
So,
billion.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So what happens is that when you person leaves their body, they're attracted to the astral plane, which is the vortex in the middle of time-space continuum, and which scientists like to think they know about. And you go into that vortex, and from that vortex, the planets that are now controlling you. Supposing you did so many sinful actions, so Pluto will control you more than Jupiter. Do you see what I mean? You create your good fortune and your bad fortune by karma, karma. Karma means pious deeds, so you go higher and higher amongst the demigods if you're left, not in Kali Yuga, but formerly in Vedic times, you could go higher out of the Vedic culture into the realm of the demigods at your next birth. Kshatriyas have swastikas on their chariots because when they die, they want to go to the sun planet. So have you ever met a Kshatriya that didn't want to die? They relish the idea of dying because then they can go to the sun planet. Why do they want to stay on Earth? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending like a bunch of donkeys. Why would they want to do that when they can go to the heavenly planet, sun planet, and live gloriously with Vivashwan? So this is the truth.
Right.
So as people are influenced one way or another, most people, if they're decent people, they will take a similar birth. But most people are not decent people because they eat meat.
yeah.
Because they cause harm to others. Because they've enslaved others. They've done all sorts of things to others. And because of that, they have to pay. And if they have not done a sufficient pious deeds in their lifetime to pay off that sin, then they have to take a lower birth. How can they take the same sort of birth simply because they're a rich attorney living in Beverly Hills, having offices in Century City, having sex with a Colombian maid, driving a Mercedes-Benz or a Ferrari, and walking purebred poodles in the morning? How do you take a higher birth from that?
You can.
Dude, that is your higher birth.
Now, yeah, now you're gonna go down.
Yeah, you have no choice but to go down. Why? Because it's like going to Las Vegas. You can go there well-dressed in a beautiful car, nice damsel on your arm, and you sit there and gamble and lose and lose and lose. Well, I'm not losing everything, but you lose a substantial amount. So when you come back to Beverly Hills, you may not be poor, but you definitely have less money than when you went to Las Vegas.
I really feel
Does that
bad.
make sense?
Yeah, I really
Huh?
feel bad for my family members right now.
I'm sorry?
I said I really feel bad for my family members because uh, they they eat meat and at the same time they do some kind of karma kanda. So in that way, it's
Well,
depressing.
I feel good. I feel good for your family members.
Why?
Do you know why?
I don't feel
Do you
good
know
for them.
why do I feel
No.
good for your family members?
Please
A very
enlighten
obvious
me.
and simple answer to that question.
Which is?
You, Ramachandra Prabhu, are going to deliver them from repeated birth and death.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Prabhupada said, if your man becomes a pure devotee,
Hare
100 years in the past, 100 lifetimes in the past, not his, but others of his family members, and in the future will all become pure devotees. Eventually, bit
Yeah.
by bit. So insofar as you've made any spiritual advancement, which obviously you have, your family members are also making that spiritual advancement, whether they like it or whether they curse the day you became a devotee, it doesn't matter. Because whatever they are thinking and feeling, you are delivering them from birth and death.
Jai.
Just like if you're trying to take a wild animal out of the water to save it from drowning, it can bite you all over the place and make you bleed. But if you save its life, you've saved its life.
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what your relatives do to you, because guess what? They're not your relatives.
Exactly. No,
Your relatives are your relatives insofar as your astrological chart is your astrological chart.
right.
But
This
as you
part.
begin to chant Hare Krishna, your astral relationship to the planet changes. Therefore, your karmic relationship to your relatives changes, and you're creating a suction where maybe there was pressure before. Maybe you were the bad guy in the family, and everybody wishes that something bad would happen to you because you're wrecking everything for everybody else in the family. I'm not saying that's the case, but sometimes it is the case in a family.
Right.
And so what if you become a great devotee? Well, the direction changes. Now you're pulling them out of Maya. You're pulling them out of repeated birth and death. Everything they cursed you for is now a blessing because it's taking them with, maybe you made them all poor, but if you become a devotee, you're making them all spiritually rich, even if they lost their money because of you. So
Jai.
on and on like that. There's no end to the complications to it all. It's like a cat's cradle game. There's an endless number of combinations. We don't need to know the combinations. All we need to know is how it works and that these combinations do exist. So now, when the person comes out of the material world, and they feel free to break in at any moment,
No problem.
with
Yes.
question or,
Bhanu Prabhu.
comment. That's
Bhanu,
good.
Bhanu, if you have any questions, realizations, please share. Anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Narayan Prabhu.
Bhanu, did you understand everything that I said?
So if you cremate, the ghost doesn't want another body.
What is that?
Is it?
If you what?
If you cremate the body,
Okay.
even if the ghost wouldn't want to take another body.
He said if you cremate the body, the dead body, the ghost wouldn't want to take another body.
Well, he doesn't have much choice. Either that or he can wander around being a ghost. But the thing is that when you cremate the body, the chances of the ghost traveling with you to another body is very remote.
Right. Yeah,
even for karmis.
Yeah, it's like the ghost gets lost.
Or separated.
Separated.
So,
yes, separated.
So what happens after cremation?
It depends on if there's a previous karmic tie between you and the ghost, like the ghost was your father or your cousin or a business partner or any type of strong relationship that really was, or wife even, that's very strong, you may take birth again with that person. You may get married to them again too.
So it doesn't take the same body.
These are all extreme examples. Shall we go for a more normal example?
Yes, Prabhu, normal it's every day.
Normal is rare, but it's still it does occasionally occur.
Right.
It sort of defeats the word normal, but this is the way it generally works, shall we say. The soul leaves the body, he comes up into the higher plane, or higher, as high a plane as he is able to experience, higher than when he was in his body, put it that way. He goes, as long as he wasn't totally sinful or drunk or whatever, in which case he will go lower, not higher. But if he comes out in a normal form, a little bit higher than his body, he goes into the vortex. And in that vortex, he feels himself being directed by what? Planets and other jivas that are already taken birth somewhere else. Father, mother, cousins, they're also pulling on you because of their karmic attraction to you. Their karmic ties.
Okay, so probably your camera is out of sync. Okay, can you bring it down more? Oh, there you go. Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, you got it? So the jiva is being pulled by a number of factors, his own karma,
right,
and the residue of the planetary influences that he had in this body that didn't get used up.
Right.
Both good and bad. So he may have done many good deeds in this lifetime and burned up a certain number of sinful activities, but he still has some, so he's going to be born with those to experience in the next birth.
So my question is, so that's why because families have similar karmas. For example, a family dies or two children die in the family. So these people are getting attracted to this family that has to go through this type of karmic reactions. Is that very similar, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason why they took birth and there's a reason why they died. And none of it has to do with their family members. Even if one of the family members strangles a child to death, it's not the cause of his death. The cause of his death is his karma.
Because of his karma. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what.
Sometimes it's possible to kill an innocent person who has done no harm to you whatsoever. Then you have big karma to pay back in your next life.
Right. Interesting how this karmic things work.
Yeah, it all works out like this. It's too complicated. I don't like to even talk about it because it's a waste of time to talk about it, but it's good to know what really goes on. So you go on
like
and
basics.
You go through the outer space into hyperspace and you come down, you feel yourself descending. And you feel, oh, I'm not going to heaven after all. I died and I'm not going to heaven. No, I won't see Jesus. Oh, too bad. You keep on coming down until you're in the semen being injected into the womb of a female.
Right.
Not necessarily a human female,
but
some sort of female.
Right. Interesting.
And as you enter let's say human, just to keep things easier to deal with, and then you come into the womb of that female, the semen has jiva, the egg says, oh joy, rejoice, rejoice, happiness is mine. Oh, look at this. I've combined with a jiva, and now I get to create a body for this jiva. I am the mother, and I am creating a body. And she is. She creates the body, but in her womb, but the body is not part of her. The body of that she creates, of the jiva in the embryo of in the baby, is not part of her body. This is what the people who like abortion don't understand. Because the body is separate from the mother's body by a membrane. The mother nourishes the baby through her bloodstream. If the mother is starving to death, the baby will not do that well either, because the minerals and nutrients and proteins and whatnot will not go through that membrane to the baby's body.
Right.
But the
Right.
baby's body and the woman's body are different,
Right. Two different bodies. Yes.
completely
Two
different.
Yes.
The proof is they can have different blood types.
Ah. See.
My brother was like that. He was born orange because he had RH. There was an RH factor. I don't know much about it, but what it was that his mother, meaning my mother's blood, leaked through the membrane into his blood and nearly killed him in the womb. So why would the mother's blood kill the embryo or kill the baby? Why would it endanger the baby? When he was born, he was bright orange like a sannyasi, except his face was orange too. But why did he, and his diaper was white, which sort of, instead of having a saffron diaper and a white body, he had a saffron
White
body and a white diaper. But why did he die? Why did he almost die? Because her blood poisoned him.
Oh. See.
And how did that
Interesting.
get cured? He had to have a blood transfusion of somebody else's blood, his type of blood.
Hmm.
Whatever his, I'm type O, but whatever his blood was, had to be introduced into his body, and the mother's poisonous blood had to be taken out, or he would have died.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that is
Why was
crazy.
the blood
So
poisonous, Prabhu?
the idea of abortion is false because the baby does not belong to the mother, except that the mother nourishes the baby in the womb, but her tissue, her genes, and the Jiva's genes, the father's genes, all combine together to help form the body. But the body of the father, the genes of the father does not influence the mother, and the genes of the mother does not influence the father. Only the genes being influenced are the baby's genes, which make the baby different than the mother and different than the father genetically. And that's where genetics comes from, tracing the mother and the father,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
So when you trace the mother and the father, you get, you can understand genetics. You can understand who came from who. On the mother's side, you came back and could trace back 200 years. On the father's side, you could trace back 400 years. But whatever it is, that's a separate genetic structure for the mother and for the father, and both genetic structures are present in the baby. But the blood is not the same as the mother's blood, and that becomes poisonous to the baby if it's RH factor.
Genetic structure is material, right? It's not.
Of course,
It's nothing to do with
genetics
spirituality.
means what sort of bone structure will you have? What sort of lungs will you have? What
Yeah,
color
that's not.
skin will you have? What color
not so.
hair will you have? What color eyes will you have? This is all genetics,
Yeah,
inherited traits.
this is not very relevant for Krishna consciousness. These things.
Very relevant for Krishna consciousness.
Oh, I mean, if you want to know your
Because
Gotra and stuff.
this is our most powerful argument against abortion.
Oh,
The
you're talking
baby
about.
does not belong to the mother.
Oh, okay, yes. In that context,
Now,
yes.
if a flea cannot live without drinking your blood, does
Right.
does the flea belong to you?
No,
Why not? He can't live without you.
because it's a different living entity.
Yeah. And the flea is a parasite.
Yes, it needs
He's drinking your
food.
blood and getting very fat. And
Right.
if he burps, out comes your blood under your arm. Right?
Yes, you're right. That's what they do.
Well,
Right.
it happens. So the thing is that the flea is a parasite.
Right.
The flea is not your child, is not of your body.
Right. It's a different body.
But there's no genetic similarity between the flea
Right.
and your body, nor does the flea grow inside of the womb of the woman,
Right. Right.
or the cat, or the dog, or the horse, or the cow, or the
Right.
donkey, or the dog.
Right.
The flea is an external parasite, like the people who gamble on the stock market are like fleas. They drink blood from the dog until the dog's almost dead, and then they have an infusion from the Federal Reserve to build up the blood again, so the fleas can drink more blood.
Right.
That's what happened during the Great Recession.
Uh-huh.
So the fleas got highly paid. They got their multi-million, $100 million bonuses that the taxpayers paid for. But anyhow, that's the flea. But in the case of the baby, we cannot say that the baby belongs to the mother. What you can say about the baby in the womb of the mother is that, for voluntarily or not, you had sex, and that sex produced conception. And even if it was done by artificial insemination, so what? You had conception from a stranger, or maybe from the gardener, who knows why. But you got conception. Once that baby is conceived, he is his own person from that nanosecond onward. There's no point in time that the baby belongs to the mother. Why? The baby doesn't belong to the mother from conception. Without the semen from the father, meaning the jiva from the father conveyed to the semen, there would be no baby. There would be a menstrual period instead. So people having a menstrual period, are they aborting the potential baby? No, it's an empty egg being cast out of the woman's body because it wasn't fertilized. Makes sense?
Right. Right. It makes
So
sense.
once the woman's egg is fertilized, it ceases to belong to the mother. Even if you're going to say it belongs to the mother, then you have to say, well, it may be located in the mother, but considering the jiva came in from the father, it belongs more to the father than to the mother. So if there's going to be an abortion, it shouldn't be decided by the mother, it should be decided by the father.
Yes,
I
that's
gave
what
the
Prabhupada
living
says.
being into the egg. What's this egg? It's just a thing. I mean, people eat eggs that are not fertilized. They open up the egg and there's nothing inside. But if the egg is fertilized, they open up the egg and sometimes there's a baby chick inside.
Right, right.
At that point, the baby chick has a destiny of its own that you have no right to take away from it.
Right, at that time, right.
At that time, the minute that the egg is fertilized, a lot of times people do eat fertilized eggs that are not very developed, and you open them up and they have a red clot inside of the egg.
Oh, interesting.
And they eat all of that. But again, they're eating chickens also. But as far as they're concerned, they're eating a healthier egg because it's been fertilized. From the point of view of eating somebody else's body.
Yeah.
But anyhow, here we go. So the jiva in the uterus, okay, so that's how so anyhow, we're not there yet. The soul comes down, enters into the man's body through grains or through some other means. It comes down and is ejected into the woman's womb, where it connects with the egg, and that is where the body begins. What determines all of that? Planets. Are you an African body? Are you a pygmy body? Are you a Martian body? Are you a demigod body? Are you a Chinese body? Are you a Japanese body? Native American body? Or a dog body? Or a cat body? That's a secondary issue. That's determined by your previous lives' actions. If you become a dog, hopefully in a previous life you were a cat.
So let me ask a
Otherwise,
question now.
if you're a dog and you become a cat, that means you're going downhill. Go ahead.
So the body is also determined.
By?
The planets. I mean, the
Oh, of
father.
course.
For example, how do I want to
Look,
say it?
the time that a creature, human or otherwise, or plant even, reproduces or has sex, like a dog
Right.
or toad or something of that sort, or crocodile,
Right.
at the time they have sex, that is when the karma of the planet is put onto that creature. And it determines, is this crocodile going to live to be 200 years? Or is this crocodile going to be captured and stuffed at the age of 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
How come? Why? 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 Now, if you're thinking about beef and you're pitying the beef cattle, consider who they were in their previous life.
Mm-hmm.
They were in line. They were in line at. Have you ever seen the lines in front of In-N-Out Burger?
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, very long
Yeah,
lines.
200 people. Well, it's smart. It's a sanitary place to cook. You stay in your car. You don't get COVID. You get handed a bag with your hamburger in it and French fries that are made from real potatoes, and not from frozen potatoes and from raw potatoes. So you get presumably a very good meal out of that. But in that line, if you keep going, you're going to become slaughtered and served at In-N-Out Burger.
Wow. Yeah, Krishna. Interesting.
Don't think otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think otherwise. No chance.
Yeah, I would like. Sometimes I do say that, but when people are near In-N-Out Burger, which is near where I Sprouts and places I go to, and they have such a crowd that goes up a block and a half, and then makes a right turn into a parking lot where they're going in to get their orders and have them cooked. It'd be nice if they could do prasadam like that,
Yeah,
where you
we're
have
so
a
much happier.
yeah. Govindas could have been doing this all the time. Created In-N-Out Burger sort of prasadam thing where you stay in line and the prasadam is given to you very nicely put together. You can even have veggie burgers if you wanted, but no,
Right.
they have no imagination to do anything except say closed.
Paneer burgers, veggie burgers, all kinds of nice stuff.
It's funny because In-N-Out Burger, it back in the late 70s, I guess, early 80s.
That's when it started? 80s and
Well, I don't know
70s?
when it started,
Oh,
but they
okay.
used to make these stickers you could put on your car or on your truck that said In-N-Out Burger, it's stuck on. Do you know what people would do?
No?
They keep the In-N-Out part, and then they take the B and the R off. They'd cut it off with the scissors.
So what does it make
What
it?
you got? In-N-Out Urge.
In-N-Out urge. Yeah, the living entities. In-N-Out urge.
In-N-Out Urge. So that the people took that seriously going through the In-N-Out Burger line. They say the In-N-Out Urge means a bull will be my father through artificial insemination in a pasture designed, not in a feedlot designed to produce beef cattle that are going to be slaughtered and turned from the In-N-Out Urge, you become the In-N-Out Burger. Cute, no?
Wow. Yeah, very, very simple
Yes.
yet very complex.
Yeah, it's very simple. It is totally simple.
Mm. So me taking birth in this so-called body that I am in Fiji, and then coming to America, this was all according to the planets.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And also by previous devotional service to Krishna.
Yes,
It's not necessary that you be born into a vegetarian family.
I wasn't.
Otherwise, there'd be no Krishna consciousness movement, right? Practically everybody in the Krishna consciousness movement, except for some of the Hindus, were vegetarian, who were never vegetarian before they joined.
Yeah, hardly no one was.
Hardly.
Yeah.
So that means that you can take, but they were devotees in previous lives, just like Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, that they were in previous lives, they may have been devotees, but they took birth in sinful ways so that they could be delivered by Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big destiny item.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I look at my previous life and I kind of regret. We're like, I'm from a very bad background, but somehow or other,
You
reading
mean in this
Prabhupada's.
lifetime or previous lifetime?
No, this lifetime and previous lifetime. I mean, I'm
Well,
focusing on this lifetime because this is what I see at the present moment.
well, what
I
about
can,
me? I was raised eating goats and cows and pigs
well,
and pigeons and chickens.
yeah, it's very horrific when we think about our previous lives or previous, time when we were
Experience in this
young.
lifetime, you mean?
Yeah,
Our
yeah, I'm
previous
talking about it.
way of living in this lifetime. No, it's
Yeah,
glorious. You know why it's glorious?
I don't. How? What do you mean glorious?
It's glorious. By chanting, the wretched have all been saved, including even Jagai and Madhai.
Yeah, that's the power of
Why are we
Srila Prabhupada.
lamenting over being delivered? Do we
Huh?
regret having been delivered?
No, no way.
Then why do we regret how we were delivered?
Yeah,
It was
that's
glorious.
right.
You know what Prabhupada said, and this might throw a different angle on your feeling of regret?
Mm.
He said the demigods are standing in line to take birth in this Krishna consciousness movement.
Krishna, Jai.
So what
Yeah.
if we keep
Now,
breaking the regulative principles, Prabhu?
so you could say that if a person is a demigod and he becomes a mediator and joins ISKCON today, well, how far did he get? Well, the question is, how far had he gotten before he took birth into today's ISKCON movement?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Had he become a Kanista Adhikari? Had he read any books that said Kanista Adhikari in them?
Mm.
Do you see
Right.
what I'm saying? Did he learn to chant the holy name of Krishna? Did he take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya by selling changed books and distributing weird prasadam with broccoli in it? We don't know. But whatever they did, if they take birth in ISKCON as a demigod, chances are they've made a dramatic step forward. Even if we're busy trying to rectify ISKCON, it doesn't matter to the demigod because even the unrectified ISKCON is a step forward for him, demigod. Maybe it's not good enough for the average man. It is good enough for average man. Unfortunately, he will never stop being average. But then he becomes an average devotee. A Kanista Adhikari is your average devotee. Remember, even the worshippers in the Vedic culture of the Varnashram Dharma 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, just remember, not one of them became a Kanista Adhikari. Not one. Do you see? So
What do you
if
mean
our
by that?
movement, well, how would they become a Kanista Adhikari?
Well, there were sages present, no, at that time, and they were
Talking to the
following.
Shudras, talking to the Vaishyas, talking even to the Brahmins?
No, they were
Kanishtadhikari
not-
means on the platform of the soul, right?
What do you say?
Kanishta Adhikari means on the level of the soul.
Yes. How many of the Brahmins said Aham Brahmasmi? Or how many Brahmins had complicated views that enabled them to remain Brahmins?
Well, we see from Krishna's pastime, the Brahmins were not so advanced.
Well, there you go.
Especially the yagya, the Brahmins that were doing yagyas. And when Krishna went to ask for prasadam, they did not allow him to get the sacrifice. So we can see from that path.
These great yogis that were busy meditating, Krishna and the coward boys would run up and pull on their beards. And they said, "Stop it, you naughty children. We're trying to meditate on God. You're keeping us from seeing God because you're pulling on our beard." Remember those pastimes in Krishna book? At the Brahmins' wives were thinking differently. The Brahmins were sitting there meditating, and the Brahmins' wives said, "These are such adorable children." They were responding from the uterus mentality, not from the cranial mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So the Brahmins' wives, thinking from their heart, from their breasts, from their uteruses, and what did the women feel when they saw Krishna? They'd feel pangs. Oh, if I had a child like that. Pangs in their uterus. Oh, if I only could have a child like that. But I can't. He's already born. But let me bring him prasadam. Let me bring him treats. Let me bring him wonderful things to eat. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So that is how the ordinary Brahmins' wives became devotees of Krishna, because they felt an emotion for Krishna that their husbands could not feel, simply because they were women, Brahmin women.
Yes.
So they said, I wish that little boy could have come out of my vagina, out of my womb. I wish I could have nursed him on my breast, because he's so adorable. He's so perfect. I wish I had a perfect looking child like the one over there that's blue. I wish I had one. And then the other ones say yellow and other colors. They were great too. I wish I had one like that. But not having one like that, I'm going to bring them treats, gulab jamans. I'm going to bring them sandesh. I'm going to bring them everything, the best I can make. Because if I had a child like that, I would be bringing them the best that I could make.
Jai.
Right?
Bhanu has a question. Prabhu?
Shoot. What's the question?
What about the fathers? I mean, how about the men feeling like if they had a child like Krishna?
What meaning?
Don't the men feel like having a child like Krishna, son like Krishna?
Oh, you mean the Brahmins that were meditating were annoyed because Krishna was pulling on their beard? Or somebody else? No.
I'm saying, just as the mothers were feeling to have a son like Krishna.
These are the wives of the Brahmins that were meditating.
Why weren't the Brahmins feeling love?
Why didn't they feel the same thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Because when a man sees a child, he very seldom associates the child with the man. They associate the child with the mother of the child.
Can you say that again? Can you say that again?
A man, when he sees a child, very seldom, if his own son, he said, well, that child looks like me. Or he can look at a child and say, he looks like his father. But mainly when you see a child, because they're at a certain age, they're at the Kumar age or at the Paganda age, you associate them with their mother, the child. And besides which, these men were very high-level Brahmins that were not yet Kinestadikaris, and they were busy trying to meditate on Krishna, or maybe maybe Bhagavan is a formless form of Krishna or something. In other words, they wanted Brahman. we say Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, but not that I am the Brahman energy without a face.
So,
I am the part and parcel of Krishna Brahman. That means simultaneously, inconceivably one and different than Krishna.
so
I'm one with Krishna, but I am not an empty Brahman.
So they didn't have any paintings of Krishna that they could recognize the child form of Krishna.
No, of course not. This was during Krishna's pastimes. The paintings of Krishna came after in Kali Yuga.
Now I have a question after that.
Let me just make one little comment. The reason that Yudhisthira performed the Rajasuya sacrifice was to identify Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Before he was identified, he was a coward boy. He was a Kshatriya. He killed his uncle of all things. He had 10,000 wives. He was playing with the gopis. Not very godly thing to do, go out with a bunch of somebody else's wives and dance with them in the forest. There was nothing about Krishna's pastimes that identified him as God, except that he was the most attractive person possible to be doing those things.
He was bluish in color, like Lord Vishnu. Were there any other people in such color? Born?
Yes, Bhanu, you're.
Say again. Okay, Ramachandra, can you help me to understand what he's saying?
Bhanu Prabhu was saying Krishna was blue, so were there any other people that were his same color?
Oh, there are a lot of demigods that are blue also. I mean, there's a lot of blue people and green people for that matter. I mean, a lot of the coward boys are all sorts of colors.
Okay.
But his being blue is distinct. Because remember, he's not blue. We paint him as blue, but he's not actually blue, but the color of a monsoon cloud. Blackish, grayish blue, bluish black, or bluish gray, smoke colored,
Same color as Vishnu?
Well, we don't know what Vishnu looks like. We only know what people paint Vishnu looking like.
Now for a question.
We see paintings of Krishna looking bright blue. No objection, except that that's not the color of Krishna. I should know. I was the head of the art department.
So is it that we cannot depict Krishna's color in a painting in any color form?
No. Because at the Rajasuya sacrifice, Arjuna went out and became known as Dhananjaya. I named one of my sons Dhananjaya because of his zoological chart. He hasn't made that much money yet, though. He went out and he had to gather gold. They found gold in a garbage heap because there was a kingdom where the plates were given to the Brahmins every day made of solid gold. And the Brahmins would never wash the plates and throw them in the trash like paper plates. And so Arjuna found all that gold because there was no gold left at the time Kali Yuga was about to begin. So he loaded up donkeys and elephants and wagons and whatever and brought the gold back to his older brother, Yudhisthira, so that Yudhisthira could use that gold to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. It doesn't matter that the gold was eaten off of or anything because gold cannot be contaminated. Presumably they melted it down, but I've never heard what they did with it. In any event, during the Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna himself was identified as by Yudhisthira as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rajasuya means a ceremony only for the most honored person. So you could actually have Yudhisthira could have had been given a Rajasuya sacrifice because he ended up being the emperor of the entire world. But he was willing to conquer, even though he hated fighting in battles. He hated war, he hated being a Kshatriya, but he conquered every single kingdom on earth. Every king on earth either killed him or made him a vassal, made him an obedient follower, simply so that he could perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, not for himself, which he could have done, But for Krishna, before he did the Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna was not yet a deity. He was not worshipped as a deity. What are you doing? Worshipping a cowherd boy? What are you doing? Worshipping the guy that's busy killing his uncle? Are you worshiping somebody who dances with other people's wives? Who the hell are you worshiping and why? No, he had to collect all of the energy of Krishna into one place to create one image, to create one murti, which is the murti that we worship today. And the paintings come from the murtis later on. Why? Because in Kali Yuga, people have absolutely no memory. So you can't tell a person what Krishna looks like. He won't know. You have to show him a picture of what Krishna looks like. He said, oh, does he look exactly like that? He said, of course not. The artist had no skill to paint Krishna. He just made a picture that's supposed to look like Krishna. Well, why doesn't he make one that looks like Krishna? Because Krishna cannot be painted. His beauty is beyond our ability to comprehend. He cannot be painted. So why do you paint a picture? So stupid people like you will understand what Krishna looks like, sort of, kind of. I'm not saying modern stupid, but I'm saying human race will say, why? Because people are not intelligent enough. They can't remember things, so they have to write things down. Dwapara Yuga, people didn't write anything down. They remembered everything they heard once. So we forget everything. We don't know anything. We know nothing at all. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, we have to have a painting of Krishna, or we wouldn't know what Krishna looks like. And when we look at the picture of Krishna, the most important thing to understand, which nobody understands except me, because I'm the art director of the art department, dealing with the agony of trying to make pictures that look like Krishna, is that there's not a possibility that a picture of Krishna will look like Krishna. How can they? Krishna's ever changing, his form is so beautiful. How can he be painted? How can it be turned into one two-dimensional object when he's not even a three-dimensional object? He's beyond a four-dimensional personality, and you're trying to turn that into a two-dimensional painting painted with oil paint or something like that? Only an idiot would do it. And that's why I was chosen to be the head of the art department, because they needed someone who knew how paintings were made. So I created what I ended up calling, which was neglected by the neglectful people of ISKCON, I created a category called Neo-Vedic art.
Neo-Vedic art.
Neo-Vedic art, meaning Krishna, but painted in the style, or more or less in the style and compositional qualities of the Western painters like Rembrandt, Goya, and all the other great Western painters. Not the modern ones, but the classical painters, realistic painters, composition, etc. Otherwise, the paintings were tend to be two-dimensional. And I figured out when I was in Jaipur in 1974, I found out why. I figured out why, or it was real to me, why the Jaipur paintings always show pictures of everything sideways. Do you know? You never see a picture of someone's face full on in the Rajasthani style painting?
No, hardly.
I don't know, maybe you're not familiar with Rajasthan painting. But
I've
do you
seen
know
them, yes.
why?
They go like
I was
this.
standing on the roof of the house where I was staying, which happened to, where did my image go?
You clicked on the screen, Prabhu.
I did?
Yeah.
How do I get it back?
Just swipe left to right, right to left, or just click on the middle of the screen, then click start video.
No such thing. Oops.
See, this is why you need a stand, Prabhu.
Well, yeah, no more picture of Nara. So
Yes.
what happened, my conceit is over. I can go without being on a picture. So I was standing on the roof of this Rajasthani house that was hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Right.
Like, at least, from the time Rajasthan was created, which was shortly after the Taj Mahal was created. And I stood or maybe even before the Taj Mahal was created. In fact, it was. The king of Rajasthan welcomed all the workers that were starving to death in Agra and brought them to Rajasthan to decorate Rajasthan. And they did an incredible job. And it was Vaishnava too, but they did not Muslim. Interestingly, because they were working for the Muslims at the Taj Mahal. So anyhow, even though the Taj Mahal was a converted Hindu temple. So anyhow, I'm standing on the roof and I see a woman standing there putting laundry on the laundry line,
Right.
wearing typical Rajasthani clothes. A woman's, high-level Rajasthani clothes, if you know what I mean, like in the painting, if you're familiar with the Kangra Valley paintings and the Kishangarh paintings. But in any event, she's holding up the cloth. And as she holds up the cloth, suddenly the entire scene shifts. And you know what happens?
What do you mean shifts?
It clicks into a different dimension. It clicks into the dimension of 500 years ago.
So you had a
And
realization.
all the buildings were two-dimensional.
Uh-huh.
I could see how they've been designed to look two-dimensional. It's only our wicked Western British mentality that makes them look three-dimensional. And I might add, why do we want to make things three-dimensional? Simple reason. Because we make machines. Machines are three-dimensional. We have to see from different angles.
Uh-huh.
But if you're making an ox cart, all you see is the wheel, the side of the cart, the ox. So you can see it from the side. You don't have to see the ox head on. You don't have to see the ox cart driver head on. Everything's sideways. Do you know what I mean when I say Rajasthani paintings? These sort of old-fashioned Indian paintings.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, they're like their face is showed from the side, like from
Yeah,
the side.
exactly. And so I always used to think, such a sophisticated culture, why didn't they get beyond primitive painting style? So like the West, we painted the West three-dimensional.
Right, full body.
That led to the idea of photography. And so you take a picture of something from any angle of vision you like.
Right.
Why? So they primitive or what? I wasn't satisfied because they were so elevated. And particularly when I read, when I was in Jaipur, an inscription next to a painting by what was his name? Chukaram, Kularam, something of that sort. He said his painting is so realistic that you cannot distinguish it from real life. I looked at the painting. I said, that does not look photographic.
Right.
You see?
Right.
I said, okay. But I'm the sort of person that never just writes things off. I say, that is stated by someone that was there and said it looked realistic. What realism am I missing that made it look realistic? You see?
Right.
And so I was standing on the roof and suddenly all the architecture went and shifted. Everything became two-dimensional. And then it made sense. The architecture became decorative instead of just old-fashioned. All the shapes. And the woman, she was standing sideways, just like in the paintings, hanging up the laundry with her arms in front of her.
Wow.
Not facing the line, but to the side of the line. I said, this is amazing. Totally amazing. And after that, when I went around, there were so many fantastic interiors you could see through windows and whatnot like that. After that, I went around and saw things, and I got glimpses of the two-dimensionality of seeing it, that it's actually superior. But you know why they painted like that?
No idea.
That's the way they saw things.
That's the way.
But why did they see things like that?
Yes, that's the next question. Right.
Because they didn't have isometric drawing techniques to show things three-dimensionally.
Okay. So is
They
that bad or
didn't
good?
need to see anything three-dimensionally. Everything went according to its shape, its form, and its function. They
What do
didn't need to see how something's put together mechanically.
I see. I see. Why?
Because they weren't making things with machines.
Okay.
Now
That's the reason.
robots, you can do with computers. You can do what do you call 3D printing on a computer. You can make things three-dimensional objects. You can make guns on a computer that
Right.
shoot bullets. You know, it's amazing. So why? Because we're living in a completely three-dimensional, almost four-dimensional world. Cyber world is beyond three dimensions.
I see. That's the product of Kali Yuga.
Yes, yes, we're being swept into becoming smaller than the atom ourselves.
Right.
We're
Instead
becoming
of being
smaller than our machines, and our machines
Yeah.
are becoming greater and more worshipable than any god that we could ever think of.
Yeah, that makes sense because two-dimensional, it's if
We
it's
things
not
really are.
yeah, it's how things really are because the machines are not really helpful, like Prabhupada says. It only creates
Yeah.
problems.
Well, you could paint tractors pulling a wagon full of hay two-dimensionally, but it's too late. If
Yeah.
you're going to deal with a tractor, you have to look at the motor, how it puts together from this
Right.
angle, that angle, and stuff like that. And then the whole
Only
Western culture is three-dimensional. And look what we've done. Instead of having a beautiful culture like Rajasthan, we've created a urban hell that's very three-dimensional.
It's
And
more than
getting
three-dimensional.
beyond three-dimensional as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you see
Wow.
that? So
Bhanu
when
Prabhu,
I was the head of the art department, I added a certain degree of three-dimensionality to the paintings to make them look more like Western paintings.
right.
Even though I had already seen Rajasthan in its true perfection, shall I say.
Uh-huh. Bhanu has a question.
Yes.
Our eyes see a three-dimensional picture, right? Even though it's not distinguishing it from the photos.
Well, just
We
consider
separate it from that photos are different matter, but what we see with our eyes is three-dimensional.
just consider a computer expert looking at things in terms of algorithms.
Yeah.
He's not even thinking of three dimensions. He's
He's
thinking
thinking
of an
algorithms.
abstract construction of ones and zeros that can
Yes.
take any form you want it to take.
Yes.
So that has nothing to do with even the three-dimensional office with the three-dimensional computer that he has. His mind is not there. His mind is inside the computer.
All right.
I mean, the eyes see three-dimensional things. So we are trying to replicate what we see through our eyes through the machines.
Yeah.
But
Three
does it make it?
is
It's better.
becoming a thing of the past. So if you start looking at
Yes.
stuff like Netflix or any other television programs that are basically everything is altered, they make movies and they alter them and make them almost like cartoons. They
They have
make cartoons that look like they're almost human. This is again way beyond three dimensions. It's all algorithms. And that's why the Democrats won the election and why Trump lost the election, because people are addicted to their computers. They want a bigger movie screen in their home, television screen in their home. Why settle with 100 inches? Why settle for 300 inches? Why not 1,000 inches?
Well, they're
And
increasing
they
the
will sacrifice
resolution.
their whole culture to become a slave of China to get it. That's why they want it. They want it because they want the payoff of the video game. They want to live in a video game. That's beyond 3 dimensions, isn't it?
Yeah, it's much beyond. It's like crazy dimension.
Yeah, well, crazy to you and me, not crazy to a 10-year-old kid.
Oh yeah.
And where that goes is into another dimension that we can't even imagine, and the 10-year-old kid cannot imagine.
Well, how many dimensions are there within this material world?
All of
For
them.
unlimited. Unlimited.
Unlimited?
Oh, you mean? Yeah.
Well, Bhaktisiddhanta talks about the uniquadrantal realm and the triquadrantal realm, meaning where Krishna appeared on earth as triquadrantal and Krishna Loka as uniquadrantal. I don't think it directly refers to the third dimension and beyond the third dimension, although it could be seen that way by the materialistic mind. But I think that there are plenty of dimensions. The problem is which one of them will feed you? Which one of them will put a roof over your head? Will a video game make you rich? Some of them will, of course, but that's only relatively speaking.
Right.
How can a video game cook food for you to eat?
Yes.
You see, your mother could
Right.
cook.
Yes.
But can the video game cook?
No.
Well, maybe someday a video game will cook. It'll take all the molecules that's in food and combine it in cyberspace and then send it to you through Amazon.
Through email.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's
I just got emailed a veggie
99% of
burger.
the 99.99% of the video games are crap. Only some
But you see,
0.001 are
Each
worthy
step
of playing.
takes the jiva.
Those two get
Yeah.
boring. Well, after playing for a while.
Each of these steps takes the jiva further and further from
Away from God.
autonomy and self-sufficiency.
Yes.
We become so that we cannot exist without the computer. After all, where will we get dinner? It's already bad enough that you can order dinner through your computer, and it will be delivered to the door by someone you've never seen before in your life.
Yeah.
Postmates or something of that sort. Uber.
Who knows who cooked it? Who
Yeah.
cooked it?
We don't know. We don't even know if it was cooked. All we know is that it showed up.
Right.
And they're busy advertising like that. And they're cooking meals that are so nutritious that practically are devoid of human contact.
Interesting, huh?
Well,
Krishna.
yes, that's it. That's what happened when Biden won the election. We entered officially into that realm.
We entered Samadhi.
With no exit strategy possible. Except,
I have a question, Prabhu.
Except one thing, World Sankirtan. That is the way to bring people completely into spiritual, if not physical, focus.
A question, Prabhu.
It won't last
Bhanu has-
10,000 years because Kali Yuga degenerates over the next 10,000 years. So whatever we're doing with cyberspace will last as long as it lasts. I mean, if it lasts 100 years, is that a long time? If it lasts 2,000 years, is that a long time? It's longer than 1,000 years.
Right.
5,000 years will it last? But it will not last 10,000 years. Therefore, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Kevalam, Kalu Vanasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gatir Anatav. Just chant Hare Krishna.
Bhanu has a question.
But
They're
Manu, go
going
ahead.
to the moon and Mars, but the scientists
about?
aren't finding any life on the surface. So there's life in every planet, Prabhupada says. Why aren't they viewing any life on those planets?
a very simple reason. First of all, what we see as the moon or see as Mars is not the moon and Mars. It's the core. It's like if you're looking at a peach, don't look at the pit of the peach. You're going to say, well, where's all the fruit? The fruit is invisible to the human eye. The planets are much larger than we think. They're ethereal. The moon isn't made of solid stuff. Just the core of the moon is. So we go flying up to the moon, but Prabhupada said we didn't go to the moon. So what's the use? I don't know about Mars, if people are crawling around on Mars or not, claiming to find water on Mars or not. It doesn't matter. We have not met a single person from Mars. And I don't mean Martians like from what, Hangar 11 or whatever it's called. Nothing like that. We don't even know about these people. We know that Martians are good demigods and they're very beautiful.
Right.
And there's plenty of them, but they have ethereal bodies. We have bodies made of earth, fire,
ethereal
air,
means
ether. What?
Ethereal means what? Ethereal means what? Ether? Sound?
Material?
Ethereal.
Ethereal.
Oh, ethereal. Yeah, ether. Ethereal means it's one of the elements.
Fire, water, earth, air, sky.
Earth, fire, water, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego.
Okay.
It's a material element, but it's
Okay.
so rarefied that the person with a human body and human eyeballs, and even with an advanced human microscope, can't see it.
Okay, so we cannot see ether, but can we perceive ether? How can we perceive ether?
Oh, it's in the astral plane.
Okay, just like the soul. We cannot
So,
see the soul.
all the planets are made of all the planets and the living, and the living beings on these planets are made of ether.
Planets are made of different substances depending on the planet.
Right. Sun planet is made out of what? Fire, right?
Well, the sun planet is.
Yeah, and they have fiery bodies, according to Bhagavatam.
Yeah. Oh, they
And we
could
have
very well have water. Can you imagine me on the sun planet with a watery body?
No way. Not possible.
That's why the
So if
scientists with great wisdom, the scientist says we cannot fly to the sun.
Yeah, obviously you cannot because you
we can't send a popsicle to the sun either.
So you better stay here and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Nama Kevalam.
Maybe we
Then
can
after-
send to the
Exactly.
sun. You need to create a
You cannot create
mobilizing
anything.
fiery some you need to fire it up, some substance.
You fire a
Inside
rocket.
the core, you need to be inside the core of the body.
No, we put in.
It needs to be a blaze. Set up blaze and go to the sun.
Well, the sun god can come to earth, but the earth people cannot go to the sun.
Yeah. But if the planets are made of the 5 elements, why are the elements not
Prabhupada said
visible?
that human beings did not go to the moon. If they landed on anything, it was on Rahu or Ketu, which are close to the moon, but not easily seen. But largely it was a hoax.
Yeah.
There's a film, a very excellent film, that shows how they hoaxed it, called the
Hoaxes.
called the Dish. It's called The Dish. And it shows how they faked the landing with film after the power went out in the satellite dish that they had on the ground in Australia, or village of all places. The power went out. When the power came back on, they ran a film of the moon landing, which they'd staged in Arizona.
Interesting. Yeah. All bogus, like Prabhupada says. These people.
Well, yeah. I mean, bogus. Just like they're saying that there was no cheating in this election. The whole
All
thing was
bogus.
cheating, ear-to-ear cheating. They say no cheating. So what can you believe of anybody that's not a
Right.
pure devotee of the Lord, who does not want you to go back to home, back to Godhead, who does not care about you and your offspring to become a predominant race of devotees?
Right.
What
Right.
do you care about
Prabhu, can you
These people are busy aborting their own children.
Yeah.
What do you
How
have
can
to
we
say
trust?
for them? What
Yeah,
can
we
we
can
say
trust them.
about such people?
Don't trust them.
So can you
Whoa.
elaborate? I mean, the moon may be made of a ether. So other planets are maybe are made of another element. Why are we not able to see the element?
You're seeing
Say
it
that,
here?
Ramachandra, say that again, what he said.
He's saying that other planets are made out of these materials, Earth, fire, ether. Why aren't we able to see them? We are seeing them here on Earth. No? What do
What,
you mean we're
other
not seeing them?
planets?
Yes.
Well, yeah, even the
We are
ancient
only,
Greeks.
Prabhu is saying that we are only seeing the core of it.
Yeah. Well, we don't see them because we can't see ether. We don't have subtle senses.
Right.
So every planet is made out of ether.
Just like we're surrounded by ghosts. That's where we started out. We're
Right.
surrounded by ghosts. Do you see any ghosts?
I'm looking outside. I don't see any.
Right. Look in your living room. Are there any ghosts? Ghosts
Manu
mostly
is-
you find by feeling ghosts, not by seeing them.
No,
Ah,
sun is
right.
of fiery. Another planet may be of water. Another may be of air, or maybe
Oh no,
some
we
fire.
can. There's so many miracles. You know that Jesus is. Can you see me in the video?
No, Prabhu.
Okay, I'm not there. Okay, so Jesus was famous for walking on water. But
Yes.
Prabhupada tells a story. There was a yogi. Prabhupada said there's thousands of people in India that can walk on water.
Yes. Nothing new.
Nothing new. And so
Right.
they can walk on water in India.
Yes.
And so the yogi says, "Sir, you're not from around here. Do you know that I can walk on water?" He said, "You can? That's pretty amazing. You can actually walk on water?" "Yes. If you give me 10 rupees, I will
Okay.
take you across the water. I will carry you across the water, and I will not use a boat. I'll simply walk." And the man says, "Why should I pay you 10 rupees for 50 paisa? I can take a boat across." This is Prabhupada's story.
Yes. Yes. I've heard this one before.
Yeah.
Amazing. So the pure devotee doesn't care about anyabhilashita shunyam. All this material
No, the
powers.
Anyabhalash is the pure devotee is an Uttamadhikari. The
Yes.
Anyabhalasha is at best
The yogi.
Kanistha Adhikari.
That's the yogi.
Anyabhalasha Bij is Kanistha Adhikari. Not
Yes.
yogis. Not that good. See, the
As a-
yogi's going to show up if they like, but why would a yogi want to hang out with a bunch of Kanistha Adhikaris?
Well, Prabhupada says these yogis, they want power, this, that. So this anyabhilashita bij is there. That's why they're looking for all these things. Power, showing them, walking on water. What's the reason for all these? To
Wait, you're saying that Prabhupada said that the yogis are here because they want to become Kanistha Adhikaris?
No. I'm saying that the yogis, they have some tinges of this anyabhilashita bij because that's why they are showing all these powers. If they were real devotees, then they would be pure devotees.
No, yogis are not devotees. Yogis are tapasvis.
Yes.
They only perform austerity to
Material
get a
power.
result. They
Yes,
only
that's
perform
what I'm saying.
austerity to get a result. They don't
Yes.
perform devotees don't perform austerities. In Kali Yuga, the only austerity that a devotee performs is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra.
Right. That's the only thing they can do. What else can
It's
they
the
do?
only thing they do in Kali
Yeah.
Yuga because there's no other way, no other way, no other way. Lord Chaitanya was
Jai.
not exaggerating when he said there was no other way. Why would God exaggerate and say something that's not true?
Right.
You see, if a person lives in India or hears about Vedic culture, Indian culture, hears about Lord Chaitanya, And if he says Lord Chaitanya is supposed to be God, they are saying like that. He's saying, chant the holy name. There is no other way. No, Kaluba Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. If God says there's no other way, why don't you immediately obey him?
Right. Right.
Why do you think there is another way?
Jai.
Well, there's another way. I just got promoted at my job, and I'm going to get a better retirement. And my wife will be very happy because I will finally be able to buy her a BMW and get a Keurig coffee machine for the kitchen. So, yeah, but there's no other way for perfection. Well, my wife would rather have a Keurig coffee machine than perfection. At this point, I'll have to tell you. If we told her we have to give it all up and chant Hare Krishna, she'd probably leave me and take the kids somewhere else.
You're right.
Such things actually happen.
Right, right. Exactly.
Anyhow, just joking around. But the thing is that
So how do we get
Jai.
our breaking the regulative
the first
principles?
thing, the whole problem is people have zero capacity, or put it this way, next door to zero capacity to understand the simple words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. And the person thinks, oh, I bet I could think of a bunch of different ways. How about really getting good at playing pool? That calls for such concentration. I bet I could become God conscious by knocking a bunch of balls into pockets. No, there's no other way. Oh, I think there's maybe other ways. I've heard of people that ate 2,000 hot dogs. Maybe I could do that. That would be another way. No, there's no other way.
So that's the solution for everything?
Chant Hare Krishna is all we have. I hate to sound like a person coming into a room full of very nicely costumed people, walking up to each and every one of them and ripping off their clothes so they're standing there in their underwear. Male and female. And I'm saying there's no other. All the stuff you're wearing will do you no good at the time of death. I'm ripping off your clothes at this New Year's Eve party while you're busy twirling a martini in your hand. I'm ripping off all your clothes so that you can see that it's all, your clothes are not going to last. Well, they would last if you didn't rip them off our bodies, but I just did rip off their bodies, and it proves that they don't last. If I could rip your clothes off your body, then what part of that is lasting, I would like to ask.
Right.
How do you say it's going to last if I can rip your clothes off?
It's not gonna last. There's no other way.
So there is no other way, no other way, no other way.
Okay, Bhanu, what is your question, Prabhu?
So if you're breaking the regulative principles, so what is the solution there? How do you get over it?
Say again, or Ramachandra, can you? My earphones aren't working right.
No problem. He's saying if someone is breaking the regulated principles, how you get over it?
If someone is breaking the regulated principles, how do they get over it?
Yes. How do you stop it?
You don't
Stop
have
doing
to.
it.
Why stop? Well, you keep breaking it. What's the problem?
So we only chant. Focus on chanting rather than thinking about disrupting the regulative principle.
Look around you. Even in your own home. Do you see anyone that's not breaking one of the regulative principles? Ever?
Yeah, look around you. Look at
So why are you telling me how you'd stop breaking the regulative principles? The only way to stop breaking regulated principles is to chant Hare Krishna and nothing else.
Right.
Stop breaking.
So that's the first
Everyone's
platform.
breaking the
Because
It's as
Not
common
breaking
as
the regulative
dirt.
principles means Kanishtadhikari.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Kanista Adhikaris are not allowed to break the regulative principles.
Yeah.
If they do, then they're not yet Kanista Adhikaris. If the
Bhanu, your question
regulative
was answered.
principle, if the four regulative principles are like a fence going around the Kanista Adhikari kingdom, supposing we say like that, or with its temples and its churches and its places to eat and restaurants and all those good stuff that people like. And if you have that going around, if the fence around that whole community to protect the community is the four regulative principles, then where are the people that break the four regulative principles?
Outside.
Right? Where they're outside the fence.
Right.
They're holding onto the fence and placing their face to the mesh, looking in, wishing they could get in. And they could if they were willing to give up breaking the regulative principles, but they can't give it up. So they have to remain wherever they are. At the best, they are in the Vedic culture. They're Brahmins of the Vedic culture or whatever, doing whatever, everybody breaks the Kshatriyas, everybody, Shudras, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, everyone breaks regulative principles. Only the Kanista Adhikari is prohibited from breaking the regulative principles.
So I'd like to tell an anecdote story that I heard from one
Let's
devotee.
complete. Let's finish this.
Go ahead. What's your question?
So, what effort should be done to not to break the regulative principles? I'm saying, what should be steps should be taken to stop it?
Same question.
Oh, how do you stop breaking the regulative principles?
Yeah.
Shraddha. You have to understand that whatever you're breaking does not belong to you. It belongs to either your body, another person's body, or a combination of both. If you look in terms of your own well-being, your own good fortune, you will not break any regular principle because there's no way to do it without getting entangled further in the material world. Why do you want to get entangled? More. Why not less? The sadhana bhakti is a process of sinning less, not more. Right?
Right.
So nobody joins ISKCON and becomes completely sinless. Maybe he follows all four regulative principles, but somehow he's still acting as though he has to follow them, not because it's his nature to do that. When your nature becomes your nature to follow the regulative principles, then you really become a real Kanista Adhikari. You become comfortable obeying the regulative principles, and as you do, you begin to advance towards the Madhyama Adhikari platform. But as long as you're busy fighting against the temptation to break the regulative principles, or indulge in them, I should say, then you're not going to make that much advancement until you give that bad habit up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fighting that habit.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about something today because I come from a meat-eating family previously. Whenever
So did I.
work, I mean, everyone or most of us. So, this. I know how food smells. What kind of chicken or whatever that I've eaten, and I was thinking to myself, hey, I've eaten these things before, but I have no taste for them. But the mind, it's there. It's the impression.
Your taste has shifted.
Yes.
There's a cookbook. Jamuna made it or something called A Higher Taste.
Right.
Prasadam is a higher taste than chicken.
Yeah. So in that sense, I was thinking, hey, I was eating this nonsense and I cannot imagine eating it again. But the body or the senses are saying, hey, it's not so bad, or it's having a reflection that, hey, this is what you were eating some 6, 7, 8 years ago or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, well, there's no harm in that, but it just means to understand if a man is addicted to drinking alcohol or taking drugs, heroin or methadone or something, if
Right,
he
right,
goes on the wagon and joins AA, it's not that he doesn't remember that he used to drink. He just stops drinking.
right, right,
It's very much like AA. We've
right,
sworn up for the four regulative principles is like the vows of AA.
right.
You know, in AA, you go to a meeting. I've been with people that belong to AA. They go to AA in a meeting and they say, "My name is George,
I'm an alcoholic.
and I have been sober for 22 years." Another person
Jai.
says, "I'm Sam. I've been sober for 6 months. I fell down once, but I am sober for 6 months, basically, you know?"
Jai.
So what can I say? I mean, it's a process.
Right. It's a
I mean, no,
process,
no one
Jai.
is saying that it's an easy process because we were born sinful from sinful mother, sinful father, sinful uterus, sinful. The breast milk we drank was contaminated by being generated from eating meat by the mother.
Right,
I mean,
right,
what's the good part? Well,
right.
the good part is that you're now in the process of
Sad,
renunciation.
sadhana
12
bhakti.
step,
Yeah.
12-step programs. 12-step
I
programs.
mean, I can't say how it is good because if we eat meat, every time you eat, you need to take birth again as a huh? You need to
Well, you
take
know,
birth.
if you go to an AA meeting and they recite all the 12 steps, do you know what the highest step is? Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Come
What is
again,
it?
Prabhu. What did you say?
You know what it
What is
is?
the highest?
Shall I tell you?
Please, yes, go ahead. I don't know.
There
Can you repeat
is
again,
a
Prabhu?
God.
Huh?
What?
Can you repeat again what you said?
Okay. The highest principle of the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous is that there is a God and it's not you. Wait. There
Jai.
is, listen. There is a God and it's not you.
Mhm.
Jai.
You see, it takes away the sense that I am the supreme controller. Therefore, if I drink, it's under my godly self-direction.
Right.
You see? Because when
There
people
is
are
a God.
drinking, they're thinking that they are being directed by God. What God? The God of alcoholism. They know it's God's words because it feels so right when they say, "I want to drink." Why does a
There
man
is a.
drink if he's going to kill himself? It feels so nice when I drink. I like to drink. It's a good experience. It's a nice feeling. So why? Well, because it's coming from me. And who are you? Well, I guess I must be God or some sort of thing about God. No, there is a God and it's not
And it's
you.
not. Uh,
In other words, it's exactly what we're talking about. You have to separate yourself. So why do we not get tempted when we're around people that are doing things? If we're not tempted, it's because we've separated ourselves. Aham Brahmasmi means I am eternal. This person drinking is doing temporary drinking, taking drugs, doing temporary drugs, eating meat, doing temporary eating meat. How do I know it's temporary? Because he'll die someday and he will stop. But he may take another breath and do the same thing again. How do we know?
right. Right.
But it doesn't matter because right now he's doing something which is temporary. Whereas my saying no is not temporary.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So the eternal platform, Aham Brahmasmi.
Jai.
Why should I do something that's against my nature?
Yeah.
What's your nature? Sat, I'm eternal. Chit, knowledge. Ananda, blissful. Well, it doesn't sound like you need anything.
Mhm.
So does
Bingo.
it
You
mean?
don't.
Does it
Bingo. I
mean?
don't. Bingo. I don't need anything.
Right.
So
I'm,
we have to do it less frequently.
Atma means I am satisfied being me,
Your true
right?
self. Yes. Right. Atmarama.
Not true self, the only self you have.
Yeah.
You don't have your material. You don't have a non-true self. That's
Yes.
simply that's an illusion.
Hmm.
Why do you think you have a non-true self?
Yeah. You're the only self.
You put it this way: the thinking that you have a non-true self is a non-true statement.
Well, how would you classify that the ego? I mean, the body. The ego's identifying with the body, so that's the non-true self, right?
Maya, bewildered by Maya,
Uh,
illusion.
right.
Do you think
Non-true
that
self.
if you can identify that your body is yourself, then are you shocked and horrified when the body dies?
No.
How can your self die? Does your self feel like it's going to die?
No.
Why do people try to live for so long? Because they want to live forever. Right? Everyone wants to live forever. So why should they live? Why should they try to live forever when they know damn well their body's not going to live forever? I mean,
Right.
the undertaker knows it. The doctor knows it. The anesthesiologist knows it.
Maybe they want to live forever because they think that this is the.
What?
They want to live forever because they think this is the only life they have.
Well, they think,
They
but
don't
it's not
believe
going
in
to last.
karma.
Okay, so if you ask that person, are you going to live forever? What's he going to say? You're identified with your body. Now, are you going to live forever?
No.
Well, will he say yes or no?
No.
Then why are you saying you're your body?
That's a good one.
If you're not going to live forever, what's the point of spewing lies?
Atheists believe that this is the only life they have. They have. Make it the most of it. Make the most of it. This is the only life they have.
Make the most of it.
This is the only life.
If you're going to make the most of it, then you should start out 90 years old and keep going the other direction until you're a baby. Then you get to experience life getting better and better by the year. But why get the most out of a 90-year-old body? Are you going to make me sick? You know? What are you going to do in a 90-year-old body? You don't have any teeth. So are you going to gnaw on a steak bone? You can't get an erection. So are you going to have sex with the nurse that's taking care of you? You can't even digest. So you have to have a tubes coming out of your body, and your urine is being collected in a vessel. So get the most out of that.
So I came to a solution, Prabhu. I mean,
this shows you one thing for sure. Maya is unbelievably, inexplicably, and inconceivably powerful.
Die.
If Maya can tell a man in his 80s, your best years are ahead of you, then maybe he already is so senile he doesn't remember when he was 20.
Maybe his best years is are ahead of him because in his new life, he's going to get a young body.
Well, yeah. Now you can say your best years are before you, but first you have to die and go into the womb, and hopefully it's a human species, and then you come out of the womb and you get to live a brand new life. But for how long? If you're a firefly, it might be a few hours. If you're a tortoise, it could be hundreds of years. But who the hell wants to be a tortoise for hundreds of years? You see what I mean?
Hmm.
The tortoise is sitting there thinking, look at all those humans. I've seen so many generations die.
So what
They
is the
only live to
destination
be,
of
they live to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, even 100 years. They're screwed over. Look at me. I'm 300 years old and I've outlived all of them. Yeah,
Subhashim Prabhu?
but who wants to be a tortoise?
So what is the destination of a sadhaka?
So to become that old, you become a tortoise? Why? I mean, a tortoise, they can't move, they can't see very well, they've got a hard shell, they can't snuggle, they can't roll in the dirt even like a dog. What can the tortoise do that's worth living 300 years for?
So on that point, so what is
Yeah,
the destination?
so then ask yourself, how did he become a tortoise?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
You know how he became a tortoise? He was
No.
saying, son, don't tell me about chanting Hare Krishna. My best years are before me. When I die, I'll become a tortoise. And I'll live for hundreds of years. And it'll make your religion and your Hare Krishna stuff look stupid, won't it? How many of you Hare Krishnas are going to live for hundreds of years? So I will become a tortoise and make fun of all of you because I will live longer than you do. And then you
So
say
in
to
one's
the tortoise,
lifetime, Prabhu,
but yes, but why do you really want to be a tortoise? The tortoise says that's irrelevant. We're talking about longevity. Go ahead.
so in one's lifetime, if we practice sadhana, chanting the holy name, but if we are not able to completely follow the four regulative principles, we didn't reach the stage of Kanishtadhikari in this lifetime. So what is this destination in the next? Is the
So, Ramachandra, could you help me with that?
Yes. Bhanu Prabhu is saying in this Krishna conscious life, a person does not reach Kanishta Adhikari because he cannot follow the regulated principles. Does he get another birth
Well,
again?
did he hear the sound of Prabhupada chanting on a tape?
yeah.
Then he will take another birth.
What
Try
birth?
again. Whatever birth, he'll take a birth where he can begin again. He could become a dog and go hanging around with devotees on Sankirtan. I mean, who knows what he becomes, but he'll make advancement in his life. Nobody's doomed that hears the Hare Krishna mantra uttered nicely once.
Uttered by Prabhupada, you're saying, purely.
That's why it's so important to hear Prabhupada. You can make advancement if you're a person chanting badly. You can make advancement if you're a person chanting the Maha Mantra drunk out of his mind on whiskey. But bad little Hare Krishna, you know, you can hear him chanting like that. But the actual fact is, you will make more advancement if you hear Prabhupada chanting.
Yeah.
Because whoever is drunk and chants heard Prabhupada or heard someone who heard Prabhupada chanting. The more distant it is, the milder the effect of benefit, but the benefit is there. Remember, the demigods are standing in line to become members of this Krishna consciousness movement.
Aren't the
They would like to,
devotees like
they would
us
like to
follow
understand how to become Kanishta.
Aren't the demigods Kanishtadhikari devotees?
What? Oh, Ramachandra, help me.
Aren't the
the
demigods? Aren't the demigods Kanishta Adhikari devotees? Bhanu Prabhu is asking.
Not the ones that are standing in line to become devotees in ISKCON. There may
No.
There may be some Kanishta
Demigods
Adhikari.
like Ganesha, Kumara, Kartikeya, aren't they Kanishta devotees?
Well, Kartikeya is not an ordinary mortal being. I'm talking about regular run-of-the-mill demigods. Your ordinary demigod.
Indra.
No, Indra is an empowered personality. He meets with
Chandra,
Krishna.
Surya, aren't
But look,
they are
Indra,
Kanishta or more than Kanishta?
Indra meets Krishna when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. He falls down and worships him, but he doesn't give up being Indra and become a Mat Brahmacharya and chant japa. So when does he become a Kanishta Adhikari? He knows to worship Krishna, but he doesn't know how to become a devotee of Krishna. Worshipping Krishna is generally done for benefits. Not for Krishna, but for me. Becoming a devotee is all about creating benefits for Krishna, not for me. Whoever is creating benefits without thinking of himself benefiting, he can make advancement as a devotee of the Lord. And whoever is making benefits and he hopes to increase his own benefits by chanting Hare Krishna, he's going to have a slow time of it indeed. Makes sense.
Come again? Who are
Bhanu, are these real questions, or are you just trying to throw
No,
a
I haven't heard what you were saying actually before.
Yeah, I would think by now you understand all of these things you're asking. Isn't that true?
No,
you're asking questions almost like creating questions to ask, but you don't really doubt any of these things.
I'm asking from your person. These are genuine questions because I'm going through in my life.
Well, yeah, you're asking on behalf of others, I think. When you talk about Krishna to somebody, you want to be able to answer them in such a way they'll say, aha, I've got it. Rather than, oh, you're full of it. I don't want to hear
No. These are my questions.
You don't know the answers?
I'm not following the regulative principles. What is my destiny? I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
But you agree with everything that Prabhupada taught us.
Exactly. I do agree.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So knowing or not knowing the details of everything that Prabhupada taught, which is impossible because he taught millions of things to different people.
Right.
Accepting that whatever Prabhupada said was impeccable, infallible, then
yes.
you, Bhanu, can say, I listened to Prabhupada. What more do I need to do?
I need to do this, but I'm not doing it, so it's a problem.
Yeah. And so if he says, well, what about the answer to this question? I don't know, but I'm sure Prabhupada addressed it at one point or another. I'll find out and let you know tomorrow.
Thanks, Prabhu.
That will give you complete freedom from doubt.
Right.
There's no point. A devotee, first thing a devotee should sacrifice is doubt.
No doubt.
You cannot make any advancement if you doubt.
Go ahead.
You get the point, right?
Very good point. If you doubt anything Prabhupada says, your advancement will be very slow. No advancement.
Well, no. The advancement begins in proportion to the amount that you are free from doubt.
That's what I heard today. Exactly. Prabhupada said, what's your doubt to some guy? He said, my senses are too powerful.
So from
Prabhupada.
from what you said, Prabhu, I came as got a solution like that. That keep on chanting whatever. Chanting is a solution for even if you're not following regulative principles. Eventually, by chanting through purification, you will be able to follow eventually. Is it the answer?
I'm
Chanting
sorry?
will.
Okay, let me repeat. Bhanu Prabhu is saying, I got the answer. It seems like the answer is I keep chanting, even though I'm not following the regulated principles. In the future, I will follow it, or I will get free
Oh,
from this bad
why
path.
not? I mean, you have to consider, are you getting more from chanting, or are you getting more from not following the regulative principles?
Right.
When you realize that the four regulative principles are giving you perfect life, why would you want something imperfect instead? You see what I mean?
Yes.
The whole point is realizing that this isn't an idea, a theory, or a game.
Right. It's not a game. It's a total
Yeah, this is
lifestyle
life.
makeover.
This is life. You can say, well, people have different lives and they all experience different things. They have different ideas, different views, different philosophy, different hates, different loves.
No.
But that's actually not true.
That's the
Everyone is
problem
a
with
jiva. Everyone is a jiva. If we take the direction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
Try.
then everyone is being directed vertically back to home, back to God.
Even Krishna says, according to your surrender, I reciprocate. So the less doubts you have, the more,
That's a very good point.
right? Just kind of thought of that.
Believe it or not, Krishna is not even slightly stupid.
Right. We think
We
we're
act
stupid.
as though Krishna is stupid, but he's not.
We're stupid. We're stupid for thinking that.
So when Krishna sees that we're making advancement, he recognizes it, encourages it, and facilitates it.
Try.
He doesn't expect that one morning we wake up and suddenly we're
Self-realized.
a cowherd boy in Vrindavan.
Yes.
Say we were chanting.
If you want to be a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, there's a process. But at the beginning, it's a gradual process.
Yes, Bhanu. Prabhu. What's going on?
If you were chanting some, I was chanting some 100 rounds or about an average of 160 rounds in Kartika and Purushottama month. But later, now it only I'm able to chant only 64 rounds at the most every day. So is it a downfall? Should I say?
No. I have the answer to that question. You know what? You want to know the answer to that question?
Go ahead.
So I was talking to this devotee that Narayan Prabhu. He's in Hamilton City. His name is Vishwakarma Das.
Oh, the Canadian guy?
Yes. You know him, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know him well, but he was very resentful that I was given the title of Vishwakarma.
Anyways, so he asked Prabhupada this question: if a brahmachari becomes a grihasta, is that a fall down? And Srila Prabhupada said, "What's the question of fall down when you're already fallen?"
Yeah.
No, not exactly fall down. I'm saying. So I was at one stage of bhakti. So did I deprogress down? So did I come back in my sadhana?
You came back to reality. Is that what you're saying?
Did I didn't progress. I went backwards. I'm asking exactly. Either you progress or you come back in bhakti. Okay. That's what exactly I'm saying. You don't stay at one position. That's what my understanding is.
Go
Did
ahead,
you get it?
Ramachandra,
No.
explain it to him.
Okay, so Bhanu Prabhu saying at one time he was chanting 108 rounds or some kind of crazy amount of rounds, and now he's back to 64 rounds. Is that a fall down? And my answer to that, chanting Hare Krishna is not a fall down. Even if he was chanting 108 rounds and is chanting 64 rounds, it's still all glories to him. What's the question of fall down?
Right. The
That's my
fall
answer
down
to
would
it.
be not following the regulated principle.
Right.
Well, I wasn't following then. Also, I wasn't following in the sense not up to 6 months like that. Maybe I was doing it for 1.5 months later.
So Narayan Prabhu has already answered that question, Prabhu. It's don't worry about it. Keep doing your devotional activities. Don't consider yourself fallen or this and that. Just keep doing your spiritual activities, and sooner or later, we'll come to the Kanishta Adhikari platform. It's it's based on your intense desire. If you want, you can follow immediately. If you don't, then you cannot.
No, it's not falling down. I'm saying are we
Following.
progressing or coming backward?
How can I tell you? I mean, it seems like you're progressing to me.
I'm asking Narayan Prabhu. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, he needs your answer, Prabhu.
The answer is the same, whether it's Ramachandra or me.
Okay.
The answer Ramachandra and you gave him is impeccable. It's no flaw.
No, because in sadhana, we either progress or we fall backwards. We don't stay at the same point.
Can
So
you
are you
translate
making?
that concept?
Okay.
Ramachandra, what is he asking?
He's asking that in a sadhana bhakti, you either progress or you go backwards. So what is my position? Bhanu's asking. I was chanting.
You don't go backwards.
Yeah, why would you go backwards? You
You
just go forward.
You slow down your advancement. But if you are advancing and doing so many good things and you don't continue, one thing for sure, everything you do from that point onward will be in contrast to how much you were following. So you'll never be able to just say, oh, I tried that for a while and now I stopped. You have to say, I tried that and I couldn't continue, and now I wish I could continue, but I can't continue. Something like that,
Right. I'm doing what I can right now.
Yeah.
According to whatever position I am.
Yeah.
So
nobody is expected to become a pure devotee in 10 minutes. Look at Dhruva Maharaj. Do you know how long it took before he became a pure devotee?
How long? Probably a couple of thousand years. So
7 years.
7 years. Wow. Yeah, intense chanting.
Standing on the earth, demanding that Vishnu appear before him.
Demanding. Wow.
Yeah. He was really pissed off because his father had given away his kingdom. So he stood there glowering with his arms crossed, or maybe at his side.
Prabhupada said,
seven
chanting Hare Krishna,
seven
chanting
higher
Hare Krishna chanting Hare
Well,
Krishna for 60 years and you'll be perfect.
Then you do it for 60 years, then you'll be perfect.
No.
What's the difficulty?
So does that mean if you do 64 rounds, it's for 15 years?
Well, what did Prabhupada
Krishna
say?
consciousness is an eternal process, not a 6-year process.
No, that's what I'm
If you want-
asking.
If you want to know what Dhruva actually did, he stood there very angry, demanding that Vishnu come and rectify the injustice that had been done to him. He stood there so, be reminded that his years standing were not on the earth planet, but a higher
Right.
planet.
Right.
And as he stood there, his anger made the earth depressed under his feet until he was in a crater that was about 7 miles deep.
Hmm.
The austerity of his breathing only very, very occasionally clogged up the airways in the cosmos. So the demigods began to wheeze and choke as though they had asthma. They all went to Vishnu and prayed to Lord Vishnu. Oh, please, Lord Vishnu, do something. This little 7-year-old boy is driving us nuts. Besides which, how can he stay 7 years old with all this time passing? He's driving us nuts. We can't breathe. He's creating a cosmic disturbance.
Why were
So
they
there's-
not able to breathe?
What?
Why were they not able to breathe?
What did he say, Ramachandra?
He's saying, why were they not able to breathe, the demigods?
Because when Dhruva constricted his own breath by breathing only once very far apart, the airways became collapsed in the cosmos. We don't realize it, but everything we do is tied together with what everybody else is doing,
Yes, collectively.
including the demigods.
Right.
And so it was an intense experience for the demigods. So Vishnu doesn't come to placate 7-year-old boys that are totally pissed off because their kingdom was taken.
Hmm.
He came because the demigods were praying for him to come to solve the situation. So Vishnu is in the heart of every living being. So when Vishnu appeared in front of Dhruva, who was glowering away, getting into a deeper and deeper hole, breathing less and less frequently, causing the demigods to choke more and more, Dhruva, saw Vishnu standing there. And Vishnu looked at him and said, "My dear Dhruva, I've heard that you have a question you want to ask me." And Dhruva stared at Lord Vishnu, who was splendiferous, beyond beautiful, gorgeous beyond in every detail. No part of Vishnu was not worshipable. Duh. After all, he is God. Duh. So he was looking at Lord Vishnu and he cried out, "Seeing you, my dear Lord, I realized that all of my austerity, I was looking for pieces of broken glass. But in seeing you, I can understand that you are the most extraordinarily beautiful jewel."
He wasn't able to speak initially.
Huh? Well,
He
he had to
wasn't
stop.
able to.
He had to continue, start breathing in order to talk. But in any event, when Vishnu saw his attitude and saw the obeisances that Dhruva Maharaj offered to him in the bottom of his deep pit that he was standing in, Vishnu said, I understand that your kingdom has been taken from you. And Dhruva, this time, his heart is melted. He's no longer angry. But he's, with tears in his eyes, he says, yes, that's what happened. Well, I am not going to go against your father and give you back your kingdom that is rightfully yours. And this gorgeous jewel, Vishnu, declined his head, and his heart was pure and open, and he accepted that. But, Lord Vishnu said, your devotion is so incredible, but I will give you a planet which, even at the destruction of the universe, doesn't cease to exist.
Jai.
And you will be in charge of that planet. Forever, not just for the entire length of time of the universe, which even Indra cannot say, or even Brahma cannot say, but you will be there as determined as you were when you were meditating,
Wow.
performing these austerities, and you will be able to be there before, during, and after every universe into infinity.
So my question is
wait,
Dhruva Go ahead, Prabhu.
Wait.
Yes. Go ahead.
But that's like
So that
getting
that
mukti
planet-
without.
that planet is called Dhruvaloka,
Jai.
but we in the West know it as the North Star.
Mhm. So is Dhruva Maharaj and Uttamadakari?
Oh yeah.
It's on the okay.
How else can you see Vishnu?
I mean, Indra also sees Vishnu, doesn't he?
Huh?
But
I say,
everyone saw
Indra-
Krishna when he was on this planet. So everyone, what about that?
Vishnu was not easy to see. But remember, earlier I was talking about how if you see a picture, a painting of Krishna, you think, oh, that's Krishna. No, it's a bad quality painting of Krishna.
Mhm.
Not the
Made by a
painting.
human
When
being.
Krishna was there on this earth.
Huh?
When Krishna was there on this earth,
Yeah.
everyone was seeing him.
When Krishna was
Everyone
here
was
on this,
able to see him.
when he was on earth, everyone was able to see him.
Not everyone, but most people saw him. But Prabhupada said out of all the people at Kurukshetra, which was like 25 million people or something like that, maybe 400 knew that he was God.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Everybody else was bewildered.
Yes.
Don't need to know that he's God. I mean, you're saying God.
They didn't know. They thought he was a coward boy, for God's sake. At what point is a coward boy God?
All the
after-
Vrindavan
only after-
Vasis
Only after
don't
the
know that he is
registry
the
of
supreme. All the
What?
Vrindavan Vasis, all
What?
the Vrindavan people don't know that he is a supreme person. Still, they are the topmost devotees.
Can you help me there, Ramachandra?
Yes. All the Vrindavan people know Krishna, and they don't know Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, but they're the topmost devotees.
Who are these people?
The Vrindavan devotees, Vrindavan Vasis, Gopis, the
Not
Gopals.
the then Vrindavan people. And Krishna was there.
When Krishna
There.
was there.
When Krishna was there.
Yes.
They didn't see Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, I'm saying.
No, why should they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even in Kurukshetra, even if they didn't see Krishna as a supreme,
Krishna is, I already went over this. That Yudhisthira made it possible through the Rajasuya fast sacrifice for we to see Krishna as a unique deity representing himself, Krishna.
no, what I am saying is the Vrindavan people were attracted to the form of Krishna, the personality of Krishna. The same way, if
Well,
on the Kurukshetra, if they are attracted to the Krishna, seeing his beauty, attraction, his
yes,
opulences,
but they didn't know he was God.
the Vrindavan people also didn't know that he was God.
They just thought that he was very beautiful or very strong.
Isn't that enough? Because
Who knew that he was God? Prabhupada said only 400 people out of 25 million. So who are you talking about?
Bhanu Prabhu is saying that they don't need to know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They saw Krishna and they attained perfection. Is that what you're saying, Bhanu Prabhu? From what I'm...
no, they will be attracted to the form of Krishna, the beauty of Krishna and the opulences of Krishna, just as the Vrindavan people have got attracted. The Vrindavan. So in the same sense, the people on the people in the battlefield, Kurukshetra warriors can also be attracted in the same manner.
That Krishna is God. So when you see him, you're seeing God. When you look at Krishna and you see Krishna, who is God, does that mean that you know that he's God? Or do you just think he's very attractive?
Yes.
That's the same thing.
That is two different points of view.
If people come into an ISKCON temple, they see the beautifully dressed deity. Do they fall down and start weeping, saying, I'm in the presence of God?
No.
Or they just look and they came in, throw a few paisas into the,
Hundi.
what's it called, the donation bin?
Hundi.
Yeah.
Hundi.
Yes, hundi, yeah. And then put their hands together without bowing down and walk past the deity. Why are they bothering? Why put anything into the hundi? Because they believe that they were supposed to, because they believe that they're supposed to believe that the form that they're looking at is God. Is the form they're looking at God? Ask a pure devotee, he'll say, you better believe it. Ask them.
All of them are pure devotees. The Vrindavan Vasis, I'm saying, Prabhu, you're not getting the point actually.
I'm not.
Even though they're not looking at Krishna as the supreme, they are pure devotees.
Yes,
they get benefit
Narayan
by
Prabhu is
seeing.
not disputing that.
They get benefit by seeing
He's
Krishna,
not disputing that.
even if they do not realize that this is God himself.
Yes. So what's the difficult to not understand about that? I mean,
so the people, warriors on the Kurukshetra battleground, they also get attracted to seeing Krishna. So they don't need. What I'm saying is they don't need to see Krishna as the supreme. This is I'm saying this point. I'm telling you this.
So they're seeing
We
him
were
as a
discussing
warrior,
about
maybe.
is it?
Oh,
You were saying
okay.
that they're not seeing Krishna as a supreme, so they didn't.
Krishna consciousness is not based on seeing somebody. Krishna consciousness is based on rasa, relationship with someone.
Yes.
If the person has a picture of Krishna in their house that they collected when they went to India, and they're eating beef in front of the picture of Krishna, is that the association? No. The association is when they realize Krishna is God. Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is God, whether they recognize or not. If that's your point, then it's obviously true.
Jai.
But why take
It's a
such
long
a belligerent?
Yeah.
Why do you take an increasingly belligerent tone when talking about Krishna?
I'm trying to say slowly because you understand, because you're not getting
No,
my points.
I'm looking for two qualities from you, Banu. One is, well, there's clarity I'm looking for. I'm looking for humility, and I'm also looking for devotion.
Oh, I like all these things.
Not analysis and not skepticism. If you're skeptical, then you should bring your skeptical question on a little plate up to offer to this conversation and say, please, may I have an
These
answer?
are my emotional questions. Therefore, I bring it out in that tone.
Well, why do you bring it about so abrasively?
I don't know. What is it? What does abrasively mean?
What?
He's saying, what does abrasively mean?
Abrasive, I don't know the word.
Abrasive means like sandpaper, rough to the touch.
Maybe it's a cultural difference.
Banu Prabhu, try to listen to what Nan Prabhu is saying and try to think about it very deeply, what he's saying.
Try to listen nicely.
Nicely, yes.
Not belligerently.
And don't try to come up with questions as he's speaking. When he's speaking, try to listen and try to make sure it sinks. Then, if there's some questions,
my question was at that point.
Otherwise,
at that point when he is speaking, exact to that, exact on that note, I was asking the question to the point. What he was speaking, what Prabhu was speaking.
But have you ever thought of adopting a more devotional tone? Because you sound, I know you're sincere, but you tend to sound a little bit on the belligerent side.
Okay.
Challenging or hostile.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that you accept anything, not one word.
I'll work on it, Prabhu.
But if you discuss it in a neutral or favorable mentality, then the understanding will come more quickly.
Right.
Not, you don't have to pretend to be a believer, but at least express your doubts or doubtful questions nicely so that everyone will like it when they hear you speak. It's an important thing.
I think our doubts can be cleared very nicely if we hear Srila Prabhupada's classes, conversations, lectures. Yes, Prabhu?
Sam Prabhu is waiting in the session. You need to let him in.
Okay, sorry. Let's see what Shravan Prabhu.
First of all, Banu, do you follow the morning program?
I don't see Shravan. No, I don't see Shravan here, Prabhu. Or maybe he left. Tell him to. Wow, it's 12 o'clock already. We've been discussing for forever.
Message me.
Is it? Oh, he's not there.
Okay.
So, Banu, we welcome your being in this conversation. We welcome your participation. My simple request, though, is because we're dealing with Krishna, that you bring your questions on a nice little pillow or like a little silver tray in such a way, I have this question, can you please give me the answer? Then if you disagree with the answer,
I forget my questions.
I like the answer.
Because you go through the answers in a very for a lot of time. So by the time you finish, you are answering. I forget the question. So I ask it when they come.
So you're complaining.
It sounds complaining because I don't know how to put it in a nice manner. Actually, the words.
I think he's saying that Narayan Prabhu,
Why
when
not?
you give,
But Banu, you're a nice person. You're a nice person. Therefore, a nice person's nature is to ask things nicely.
Jai.
I don't have many people to talk nicely with. I just involve in myself.
No, you participate and listen nicely.
If you ask as though you're challenging, how can you ever absorb the answer? This is an important quality.
Okay.
If you were in front of Prabhupada, would you be able to talk like that? I don't think so. You should be able to talk to everybody as though you were talking to Prabhupada. Not just me, not just Ramachandra, but everybody.
I think Bhanu Prabhu needs some refinement in his. I mean, myself, I was like him, and just by talking to Narayan Prabhu, the refinement will come. It's just that we have to keep adjusting ourselves.
Well, I've listened to Banu a lot tonight.
Really.
He's been very self-expressed, which I appreciate and I like.
Jai.
But I'm saying to go further, you have to try to come up with questions that do not imply or doubt or challenge the speaker, because if you did that with Prabhupada, you wouldn't get very far. If you want to make real advancement, you have to understand how to ask in a way that the answer will either be pleasing to you or that you can reject it as nonsense.
Oh, no, Prabhu. We have a communication gap. You're not able to understand when I speak normally.
Well,
most times
well,
Ronald Prabhu has to repeat it in another manner.
I'm talking about thinking normally, not talking normally. Feeling normally.
Jai.
Wait, first of all, Banu,
Banu,
you said you were
are you
chanting.
going to say Banu? Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You were saying you were
Mr. Tejpal.
chanting 160 rounds. Do you follow the morning program? Are do you work outside? And like, are you initiated?
We are all initiated by Prabhupada.
No, it's a process. No, but like, do you follow the morning program?
There's no program, it's only chanting. Chanting is the only program.
No, you have to do Mangal Arati.
It's Corona time now. You don't go to the temple.
No, you can do Mangal Arati just by singing the songs.
Okay.
Yeah, 4:30, Samsara Dava. You don't know that you can go on Bhakti Handbook and it's all there, all the songs.
Yeah. But I haven't tried it actually. I might try it.
You should do that because it says like if you don't do Mangal Arati, you'll fall down. I think it's somewhere in there. I don't know. I'll find the quote, I guess.
So I think we'll end it here, guys. I have to go to work tomorrow, and it's 12 o'clock already. We can discuss more.
Thanks for
tomorrow.
bringing it, Prabhu.
No problem. We can discuss later. All right, guys. Hare Krishna. Narayan Prabhu, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For your association.
You're welcome. Just consider that with the sweet tone of voice, you will get the sweetest answer.
Jai.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for your association.
Thank you, Prabhu. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.